Hi, welcome to the video Google reCAPTCHA integration with the Java Springboot web application. I am Nam Hamin from CodeJava.net. Through this video, I will guide you how to add a Google reCAPTCHA widget. I'm not a robot in a web form that looks like this. You see, this is a Google reCAPTCHA widget. I'm not a robot with a checkbox here to protect websites from spam, fraud, and abuse. Suppose that we have an existing web application developed in Java Spring, and in which the user can send a contact form like this. And to prevent the web application from spam, we should add a reCAPTCHA widget like this on the form to make sure that only human is actually using the form, not robots. And I will also guide you how to implement the code in the server side to verify the Google reCAPTCHA response. And the widget not a robot is reCAPTCHA version 2, reCAPTCHA v2. So in this video, I will guide you how to integrate Google reCAPTCHA version 2 in a Java web application with Spring Boot. The key technologies will be used in this video, including Spring Boot web application with Thymeleaf as a template engine and RestTemplate to call Google reCAPTCHA APIs. And we also need to use Google reCAPTCHA JavaScript library to render the not a robot widget. And I'm using the following software programs: Java Development Kit JDK and Spring Tools with IDE SDS. And to help you understand the integration workflow of Google reCAPTCHA in the web application, I draw this sequence diagram. First, the client web browser sends a request to the Spring Boot application, which is running on embedded Tomcat server for the contact form, and the server returns the contact form in HTML code, and the contact form is getting displayed, and it sends a request to Google reCAPTCHA server with a side key, reCAPTCHA side key, a public key, to get the JavaScript library used to render the I'm not a robot widget with a checkbox here, and the widget gets display, and then the user fills in the information in the form and then click the submit button, and a request is sent to our Spring Boot application, including the Google CAPTCHA response generated by the widget here. And our Spring Boot application, we calls Google reCAPTCHA API with the secret key and Google reCAPTCHA response for the purpose of verification. And Google reCAPTCHA server will return Json Response, and based on the response, our Spring Boot application will decide what to do next. For example, if the verification is success, then the application approves the contact form to be processed. Else, if the verification is false, our Spring Boot application returns an error page to the users. So that's the workflow of Google reCAPTCHA integration. So here are the steps which we need to follow. First, we need to register a new site for Google reCAPTCHA to obtain the site key and secret key that are used in the code. And then we use JavaScript and HTML code to render the I'm not a robot widget to require the user to prove that they are not a robot. And then we use Spring RestTemplate to call Google reCAPTCHA API to verify the reCAPTCHA response. And then based on the reCAPTCHA response, we make decision based on the verification result. Let me show you my existing Spring Boot application, the Shopee frontend project in Spring 2 Suite IDE here. Let me start this Spring Boot application to show you the contact form. And you can see this is the contact controller class that is responsible to handle requests to view the contact form, or also handle the request to submit the contact form. And I'm open Google Chrome to test. Head to the homepage of the application, localhost/shopme. You see, and in this web application, the user can click the contact us hyperlink here, and the contact form will be displayed, allowing the user to enter the information like full name, email, subject, content, attachment, and click the send button to send this request to the website owner. And we want to make sure that only human can use this form, not robots. So we need to add a Google reCAPTCHA widget on this form here before the send button. Now let's register a new Google reCAPTCHA for our website. So make sure that you have logged in to the Google account and head to the homepage of Google reCAPTCHA at this URL, google.com/reCAPTCHA, and click the link admin console here and register a new site for Google reCAPTCHA. Label, for example, localhost shopme for testing on localhost. And to display the I'm not a robot widget, I need to choose the reCAPTCHA type is reCAPTCHA v2 version 2. I'm not a robot checkbox here. And domain for testing purpose on localhost, domain is localhost. Later you can update domain to the live website and click accept the reCAPTCHA terms of service and click submit. That's it, very simple to register in a new site for Google reCAPTCHA. And we have the site key and secret key here. This key will be used in our code to render the Google reCAPTCHA widget and also call the Google reCAPTCHA API to verify the Google reCAPTCHA response in the form. Now go back to our project, and in the application configuration file here, we define the properties for Google reCAPTCHA. reCAPTCHA key is site key here, so click copy site key. This is a public key, and reCAPTCHA secret, this is a private key that is used to invoke the Google reCAPTCHA API. Next, let's update the code of the contact form here to display the Google reCAPTCHA widget here before the send button here. So we need to refer to JavaScript library of Google reCAPTCHA. So we can use this script src equal to https google.com/recaptcha/api.js, and we need to specify the attributes async to tell the browser to load this script asynchronously and defer to tell the browser to defer the loading of this script after the page has been loaded. That's it to load the Google reCAPTCHA JavaScript API. And then here before the send button here, we add a div section to render the I'm not a robot widget with this class name class equal css class g dash reCAPTCHA and with the attribute data dash side key is the public key, the side key of the reCAPTCHA key we have created so far here. I want the reCAPTCHA public key can be configurable, so I use Thymeleaf gh colon here to dynamically get the value of the reCAPTCHA side key from the application configuration file here. This is a key name, property name, and I use Thymeleaf syntax to get the value of an environment variable here. Environment, get property, then the property name here, reCAPTCHA.key, which is a property name in the application.properties file here. The public key of the reCAPTCHA API. That's it. And we can refresh the contact form here. And you can see I'm not a robot with this gas display. Yeah, that means we have successfully installed Google reCAPTCHA onto this contact form. Now let's align the widget in center and make some margin. So I used Bootstrap CSS class margin 3 row justify content center. That's it. It's very simple to display the Google reCAPTCHA widget. And you can see now the I'm not a robot widget is center in the form here. Perfect, right? And we want to make sure that the user must check the checkbox I'm not a robot here before click the send button here. So we need to add a little JavaScript here to the contact form. Add some JavaScript here. New function validate form. And on submit of this form here, on submit, return the value of the validate form method. Okay. And we can check the response of the G reCAPTCHA object, which is automatically available in the page by Google reCAPTCHA JavaScript API. G reCAPTCHA get a response. If the response is true, we return true. Else we display a alert message. Alert. Please prove that you are not a robot, and return false. That's it. And during the integration, you can check the developer documentation here of the Google reCAPTCHA to know how to integrate Google reCAPTCHA You can see there are two types: reCAPTCHA v2 and reCAPTCHA v3. v3 is version 2 for rendering the widget on the form. Here you can check the documentation of Google reCAPTCHA for developers. Okay, now let's refresh the contact us form here. Click send, and I need to fill in the information: full name, main, email, main at gmail.com. Subject: please have printing books. I want to get this book printed, and click send. And you can see the alert box saying, please prove that you are not a robot. If the user didn't click the checkbox, I'm not a robot here. Let me modify the code in the contact controller a little bit. The handler method that processes the submission of the form here. Okay, here we just return the view message directory. We're not sending email. If true, no return the message. Now I check I'm not a robot here. Okay, and click send. And you can see, thank you for contacting us is a result because I just return immediately from the method here. So that's we have done the first half of the workflow, integration workflow of Google reCAPTCHA here. Request contact form, request reCAPTCHA, JavaScript library with side key, render the widget here in the form. Next, we are going to implement the second part of the integration workflow that captures the Google reCAPTCHA response from the form and then call the Google reCAPTCHA API, sending secret key along with the Google reCAPTCHA response and read the Json response. So from the reCAPTCHA documentation, verify users' responses here. You can see when the form is submitted, post parameter with the name g-reCAPTCHA response will be sent to the server. So we need to read to capture this reCAPTCHA response, which then be used to call Google reCAPTCHA API for verification. And you can see the API, for the API request, we need to send the request to this URL. So we copy this URL, copy, and I declare another property in the configuration file here, reCAPTCHA.url. This is the URL of the Google reCAPTCHA API for site verify here. You see, and in the controller class, we read the value of that URL and a secret key here to the controller class as instant variables here. So we use the value annotation here and copy the property name secret here and bind it to a string variable reCAPTCHA secret, and we'll also by the property URL to a variable here, URL reCAPTCHA reCAPTCHA.url, and this is instant variable name is reCAPTCHA server URL. Okay, that's it. And as per the documentation, we need to send a request to Google reCAPTCHA server with this parameters. Secret is a secret key, and response is a Google reCAPTCHA response sent from the form. Remote IP is optional, so we don't include this parameter into the request. And to call REST API in Springboot, we can use the RestTemplate. So we declare RestTemplate bin here, bin public RestTemplate builder. You know, Spring Boot doesn't automatically configure a RestTemplate bin, so we need to declare it manually in our code. Return builder build, and we auto-write a RestTemplate here to be used in the code. Private RestTemplate and we update the code of the handler method, submit contact method here. We call the method verify reCAPTCHA and create this method. And according to the documentation, here you see we need to read the value of this post parameter sent from the contact form g-reCAPTCHA response. Yeah, let's see. G reCAPTCHA response equal request get parameter and the name of the parameter here. And in this verify reCAPTCHA method, we need to use this G reCAPTCHA response. Okay. And we need to write the code to call the REST API from this URL here. And sending a post request with these parameters, secret and response. So we create a new HTTP headers object here. Headers equal new HTTP headers, and we set the content type for the header set content type is media type application form URL encoded, and create a multi-value map for the post parameter. string map equal new link outer value map, and then we add two parameters. The first one is secret here. Secret value is secret key from the configuration file here, and we read that value into a variable here, reCAPTCHA secret here. And the second parameter is a response, which is the reCAPTCHA response here. That's it. And then we call RestTemplate. We can use a method post for entity with the parameters is a URL or a request object and type of the response, where request for entity URL is Google reCAPTCHA API URL here. It is bind to this variable reCAPTCHA server URL here, and we create a new request object http entity auto value map string request equal new http entity with parameters is a map and headers map, and response type we want to examine the JSON response string, so we specify the string dot class here, and this method will return a response entity with the type is string response, and then we can print the response for testing purpose. Okay, and as per the documentation, here is the API response from the Google reCAPTCHA. It is a JSON object with these fields: success, true or false, challenge, timestamp, hostname, error cost, if any. Okay, now we are ready to test the verification of Google reCAPTCHA, calling the Google reCAPTCHA API. Save the changes and waiting for the application to restart. Okay, now refresh the contact form. Please fix my phone and check I'm not a robot, and click send, and we will see what is printed in the console. And you can see in the console view it prints the JSON response of Google reCAPTCHA API. Here you can see a JSON object with the field success true, meaning the verification is success, challenge timestamp here, hostname localhost here, content type application JSON. Perfect, right? We can test invalid request by type wrong secret key here, for example. Test again, and we will see the error codes here, and the error code reference here, very detailed from the documentation here. Now contact us fix my phone as soon as possible. I'm not a robot. Let's clear the console view first. Click send. And you can see this is a response from Google Recapture API, and you can see success false and error code is invalid input secret. Exactly because I have changed the secret here to a random string. Undo. So when debugging testing, you can put in the response directory and examine the response in the console view like this. We can also map a JSON response to a Java object. Let me show you. We are going to create a new class here. So its name is reCAPTCHA response. And as per the documentation here, the response contains the fields success, challenge, timestamp, hostname, and error codes. So we declare the corresponding fields in this class. Boolean success, string hostname, string challenge timestamp, challenge underscore ts is a property name here, and error code. Error code is an array of string. Error code, and because the name of the property in JSON here is having the dash here, so we need to use a special annotation here because Java doesn't allow a dash in the variable name here. We got the error here, so we need to use a special annotation JSON property and then specify the real property, which is error dash codes exactly here. That's it, very simple, and generate the getters and setters for these fields. Select all, generate. That's it for the Java Bean style, a puzzle object that encapsulates Google Recapture verification response. And then we can update our code that invokes the Google Recapture API to return a Recapture response object instead of a string. Yeah. So we assign the return to a Recapture response equal, and here we specify the name of the class, and then we must change the method is post for object, and the class type is a recapture response here. That's it. And now we can use the response object in an object-oriented way. For example, is success or not. Here we print call the letters of this response object for testing purpose. Success response is success. Hostname challenge and error code. Hostname response get hostname here. Challenge timestamp. So you see, it's better to use the server object for the response get challenge timestamp, and for the error code, which is an string array. So we need to check if response get error code is not null. We iterate for each error in the array. Response get error codes, and we print out each error. That's it. And now let's test again with dedicated Java object for the reCAPTCHA response here. Save the changes and wait for the application to restart. And refresh the contact us form here. Click I'm not a robot. Not click. We got a error message. I'm not a robot. Send. Okay, and you can see in the console view it prints the response details here. You can see success, host name, challenge timestamps, and no error. If there's any error, it will be printed here in this for loop. Because as per the documentation, error codes an array of string here, you see. And now we return the modify this method, return a boolean value, boolean, and we return the value of the response. Return response is success, and we make decision based on the verification result here. If verify reCAPTCHA or return true, we return false here. We send an error code to the client, else we continue the process that we send an email to the website owner here, you see. So we need to have a HTTP service response here. HTTP service response here, and we use the response to send an error with HTTP status code is HTTP service response sc underscore bad or request here. That's it. And because I'm not a robot, so I can test the case that the verification returns false. So I modify the code to return false here to test the case that the server will send an error to the client. Okay. Now refresh the contact us form. Contact us, enter information. I'm not a robot. Click send. And you see, we got error. Sorry, there's one was an error. Okay, because in the code we return false here, and then if false we send an error with the HTTP status code bad request here. Okay, undo to change back to the correct code. Response is success is a return value of the verified reCAPTCHA method here. And now we do the final test when everything is perfect, allowing the request to be processed. An email will be sent. Contact us. I want to have last memory iPhone. I'm not a robot, and click send. Here we go. You can see the response. Thank you for contacting us. We'll get back to you shortly. That means an email was sent to the website owner because the code was executed. And in the console view, you can see it prints the response from Google reCAPTCHA success true here. Perfect, right? Awesome. So that you have learned how to integrate Google reCAPTCHA version 2, reCAPTCHA v2 into a Java web application based on Java Springboot. And we have walked through this workflow to invent the code. I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. Please help me grow this channel by subscribing and then like, comment, and share this video. Thank you.